Elden Ring will be my first FromSoft game ever, but I'm aware of the company's reputation as the developer that killed a million controllers. As I benchmark their latest Soulsborne title on the 2014 classic GTX 970 from nVidia, I can't help but wonder, is the game benchmarking me? Elden Ring's minimum GPU requirement is a GTX 1060 3GB, RX 540 4GB or equivalent with DX12 feature set compatibility. This makes the GTX 970 about the oldest, cheapest nVidia card to meet these criteria. I'll be testing this MSI gaming version in my moderately priced gaming PC, or MPG PC for short, with an overclocked Ryzen 5 5600G and 16GB of DDR4 3600. Also, I like to test games with a spec closer to the average PC, according to the Steam Hardware Survey, in what I call the reasonably priced gaming PC, or ARPG PC configuration. The first thing that should be mentioned is the FPS cap. There isn't a VSync option anywhere in the menu, but the game seems to enforce a 60 FPS limit. There's no sign of any dynamic resolution scaling, variable rate shading, or other systems to help keep the game at or close to the cap, and no integrated support for FSR, temporal supersampling, or other upscaling tech. There's a fairly no-frills quality settings menu, and 4 presets, from extreme down to low. With the GTX 970 installed, the game defaulted to the high preset. This resulted in an average of 47 FPS, with lows in the mid-30s, caused by a fair amount of stutter and extended pauses that got pretty annoying. In fairness, I tested within an hour of the game going live in the UK, and there was no updated game ready driver at this point, so hopefully by the time you see this there may well have been a driver update or patch that irons out some of the stutter. This frame time inconsistency didn't go away completely either. Dropping to the medium preset hugged close to 60 most of the time, but frequent drops into the 40s kept the average at 57. The low preset introduced some visual glitches that I'd like to do without if possible. The 1% lows remained higher than at medium, coming in around 48, but the frame rate dropped often enough that the average was still only 58. Now, so far I'll say this isn't a bad showing from the 8-year-old GPU, and a lot of players won't object to this at all, especially those used to past ports of FromSoft games that have been limited to a 30 FPS cap. If you like the extra visual splendour at the expense of gameplay smoothness, the Extreme preset is still remarkably playable. My testing saw an average in the low 40s, with drops into the low 30s. You could probably limit FPS to 30 in the nVidia driver or using Riva Tuner and get a fairly rock-solid experience most of the time. That's all true of the 6-core setup of the moderately priced gaming PC. The game's system requirements do allow for a lower performing CPU, in line with a multi-threaded quad-core or non-multi-threaded 6-core. So to test that out, I booted up in my ARPG PC configuration and repeated the tests. On the whole, things still look pretty positive for low-spec gamers. Average frame rates are still on par with those of the moderately priced setup at high and extreme, while dipping a little lower on medium and low. 1% scores are significantly lower at all settings, so there's still something to be said for using more powerful CPUs and faster RAM. How much of a difference this makes once driver optimizations have been released remains to be seen. Hope that was useful. Thanks for watching, kindly do the usual YouTube things if you feel so inclined, and I'll see you next time.